Welcome. I'm Julie Bacon, and you're listening to the Mindset Coaching for Handlers podcast, a podcast for dog handlers who are on a mission to achieve big goals. Here I share lessons, insights, personal stories, and tools you can apply during your next show, trial, or test to help you strengthen your mental game and hopefully cue more consistently. Be sure to check out the show notes where you'll find details about the episodes, plus important links, including the link to the Dogged Planner and Workbook created just for handlers on a mission. So if you're ready to improve your competitive mindset, get out of your own way, and connect with your dog like never before, then it's time to get comfy, bring an open mind, and work your mindset. Hey there, welcome back. Okay, this week we're talking about sort of an awkward topic because we're good at that, or we're good at talking about them. Maybe we're okay at solving them. And this came up in a coaching call this week because someone was talking about, these are my words, okay? In my words, I would say breaking up with an instructor or some other person that you've been taking instruction from or lessons or etc. And that's why I titled it like breaking up is hard to do, right? Because the hard thing is whether we break up with an instructor, and okay, break up is in air quotes, right? I understand. Or a longtime mentor, someone we've had in our life who's really helped us along the way, but either we've outgrown them or the relationship is no longer positive. Just to state that nicely, maybe it's taken a turn. We've talked about toxic relationships before, but there's a lot of reasons that we might move on from either a relationship, a friendship, a mentorship, a certain coach, instructor, what have you. Okay. And it's just really tricky in dog sports, and it's probably tricky elsewhere, right? It's like breaking up with your hairdresser, I suppose. But it's tricky in a lot of places. And part of the reason is what we've talked about before, which is dog sports is sometimes the loneliest place you can be in a group of 300 other people, or it's such a small world and you can't get away from these same people, right? And I've had clients tell me, and seminar participants both tell me, they've stopped trialing at certain places because they will see these people. They don't want to go to this training or that training, or they have to hide what they're doing. Maybe they're taking an online course because that's easier to hide. And just all these, I'm going to use the big word today, machinations is my word of the day. All these just really ridiculous like hoops that people are jumping through because they want to get certain instruction or certain help, but they feel like there's a relationship that's in their way, or they can't really do what it is that they want to do. And, I bring up the small world thing is because a lot of times, we're trialing and we're training in our own geographical area. And even if you're in, New York, you're still seeing the same people over and over again, right? You're still seeing the same people at trials because trials are, you're trialing within maybe 200, miles of your house or something, right? And so there's a lot of that, right? That you will continue to see the same people, and it can get very awkward. And so we're going to kind of talk about that today. So there's a few different versions of this, right? One is the mentor, someone who's really helped you a lot over the years and really made a huge impact. And maybe that also goes with some like friends or something like that. They were amazing. They were great. They did things. You traveled together. You went places. They helped you. Maybe, they're the reason your dog had a litter at all. I mean, there's some really impactful, really amazing things. And for whatever reason, that relationship changes and it's no longer positive for you, or it's no longer makes sense for you to stay in that relationship. And one of the things that, I always say, and this is a general statement for this whole episode, is, regardless of how the other person acts or how you perceive that they're acting, okay, we own our side, keeping our side of the street clean, right? We own how we respond, how we, go into that breakup. So ideally, like, we're not talking about that person. We're not talking out of school. Even if we feel like we want to defend ourselves, we know that that's really not going to get us anywhere. And so to be constructive and to be kind and to take the high road, or whatever, kind of metaphor you want to throw at this, is really, really important, because at the end of the day, you need to set an intention, not only about how you want that breakup to go, which we're going to go more into depth about, but also like how you want to be seen as a person at trials, in the dog world, etc. And so if you can, act with integrity and, avoid the gossip and avoid the storytelling and avoid some of those things, and just sort of, if people ask you about it, just sort of say, yeah, I'm not really in that relationship anymore. Or, I wish the best for them but you're right. I haven't spoken to them in a while. I hope they're doing great. And by the way, you can mean that, right? You can, that's not a lie. Like, I'm sort of giggling because I know some of you are saying, like, I think I can say that. But I think that it's true that we can wish someone well, but not need to be in their lives anymore, or not have them in our lives anymore, however we want to spin that. And so one of the things I really like to do with this, and I've talked about this on other episodes, is this visualization called cord cutting. And being a visual person and a visual thinker, this comes easily to me in that I imagine a connection between me and the other person. It could be me and an experience, right? Maybe I just had a really bad dog show or something and a really bad experience. So this works for that too, even though we're talking about people. But this works for that too. And I just imagine, and for me, I imagine this like dark, black, gnarly, sort of almost like root-like thing that attaches from me to either that person or that experience. And then I imagine taking those long-handled garden shears, right? The ones with the really long blades and the really long handles. And I imagine cutting that cord, that connection, rather, that root in my case, between the two of us, right? Again, between me and the person, or between me and the event, or whatever that happened. And what's interesting is that, for some people, they're like, oh, that's ridiculous. That doesn't work. But I've seen with my clients, them come back and report and say, like, God, every time I cut that cord, I know she feels it because I get a random text or I get a random something, right? So really envision that cord being cut between you. And when it grows back, when the little root kind of sticks out, when a little thing forms, or when you feel yourself thinking about the person, the situation, the experience, just cut it again. Okay. And if you have a mentor where there are some really amazing things that you are truly, truly grateful for, what I do is I envision leaving behind some gold threads, right? I cut the black, gnarly root thing that somehow managed to get gross and, knotty and stuff over the years. And I imagine leaving just this golden thread between us that represents all the good. And honestly, I get a little choked up thinking about it, because even in those relationships, there were some good things that came out of it, right? Some maybe even some life-changing things that came out of it. Maybe your heart dog came out of that relationship, right? And so we don't really have to just do cutoff for cutoff's sake. We can be graceful and kind and think good things and leave behind these little gold, or whatever color you want, these little gold threads that between us and that person, event, or place. Okay. So that's one thing I like to do. The main thing is, and this is hard, and it's harder for some people than it is for others, but we have to get to a point where we leave those relationships with just nothing but good things to say. Right? We can ghost them, right? If that's our method, if we choose to ghost them and just never pick up, again, or we can do the thing where we no longer reach out, and every time they reach out, we just say something polite and short, but done. Try to be graceful and as kind as possible. But certainly you absolutely can control the stories you tell about the relationship and about the person. And if they're running around telling yucky stories, you still be the one running around telling good stories. Or, like your mom always said, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Okay. So that's something that I think when we, as humans, go through that, we can just be kind and graceful. And then when you see them at an event or something, or you're going to see them at an event, do some visualization ahead of time. How do you want to act at that event? What if you see them? All right. What if they say a thing you're afraid that they say? What are you going to say back? Practice, visualize. When I say visualize, it's not just, for the woo-woo meditation, cushion, right? It's for like, how do you want this to go down? What is your intention of how you want that interaction to be? Do you just say like a polite, hey, how's it going? Whatever, you wave, you walk away, you duck behind a bush, whatever it is that you have planned. Have a plan, because I feel like one of the things that catches us is that we feel vulnerable and we feel caught off guard. And so, if we're thinking of it in terms of goals, right? Process goals, a process goal that we can control 100% of is one where we plan out how we might respond given a couple different scenarios. And I don't know about you, but for me, that makes me feel a little more in control. It makes me feel less vulnerable, right? Less, I say vulnerable because sometimes we feel like attacked or caught, flat-footed, or we don't know what to say, or, we weren't expecting us to go in the bathroom and them to be coming out of the bathroom or something like that, right? And those surprises are, I think, what catch us versus being able to plan it out. So if you're someone who needs to plan out something or just have a couple of responses at the ready, please do that. Prepare accordingly. Prepare, where you're going to put your crate or something, or prepare how you're going to interact with common people who, are still, you have relationships with, right? Who have a relationship with them, the other person, a relationship with you, etc. Sort of plan it out. And there may be times where you just need to take a break from all of those places that they're going to be, and you choose to go to other locations, even if it's farther away or whatever, just so that you can, it's not avoid them, but it's doing yourself and your nervous system the kindness of not adding to the pressures of the day. Because after all, by the way, you're there to trial, right? You're there to perform. You're there to walk in the ring. You're there to do your thing. You paid your money. You want to compete. You want to focus on your dogs. It's not about the other person. It's about your dogs and being there, right? So you don't want to let that other person, that phrase, live rent free in your head and take up that space that you need to be focused on doing your thing. So if you come across them, maybe you're busy, maybe you just, is that my dog I heard barking from 3 parking lots away? I'm sure I got to go, whatever it is that you need to do to take care of yourself. All right. There's a lot of different ways to handle the relationship piece. Depending on the relationship is going to depend on your response. But what I want to remind you is you are at a trial for your dog and for yourself. So it's really important to be able to clear your head. And if you can't, then maybe that's not the trial environment for you. The last thing I'll say on people specifically, and this is going to dovetail well when we talk about kind of breaking up with your instructors or other people, is that a lot of times their reaction is about them. It's not about you. It's about whatever feelings they can't verbalize. It's, maybe they were surprised that for the breakup or whatever. There's a lot of other things going on. You have all of your big feelings, but they have feelings about it too. And so sometimes, people don't take the high road, or they feel a different way about the situation or what have you. So while it feels like it's all about you and you feel like the world is revolving around you in this moment, remember that they are having their own feelings, insecurities, maybe vulnerabilities, like whatever it is that is affecting their response to this dissolution of the relationship. Okay? Hang on one second because I need a drink. Okay, I have a quick question for you. Have you ever thought about coaching? Because one-on-one coaching lets us dive into your specific challenges and create tailored solutions. Because at the end of the day, no one has your exact challenges, and we all know that everyone has different goals. So through coaching, you'll get that breakthrough faster, basically. And I know it's true because I see it in my clients week after week. So if you're ready to take your mental game to the next level, let's chat. Okay, back to the show. suppose I should have specified a drink of water, but anyway. Okay, let's move on to breaking up with instructors, okay? Or not breaking up with instructors, but wanting to take lessons from other people. I have seen this be so tricky. And, even as a kid, I had an instructor who was very sensitive about this and just, come to find out, like hindsight's 2020 and maturity and life experience and all that kind of stuff. She was just very insecure. She was afraid that I would leave her to go to a different barn, that I would take a lesson from this other person, fall madly in love with their instruction and just, take my horses and my toys and go. But when I was 15, 16, I didn't know about that, right? I just wanted to do this other thing. I wanted to have this other experience. I wanted to get this other input because I was on a path, like many of us currently are. I was on a path of just wanting to get better. And I saw something in these other instructors or wanted to go to this other show or whatever that I just wanted to have that experience. And so often, I just think, I'm going to make the bold, or the unpopular or whatever statement, the hot take, as the kids would say. My hot take is that we're just getting so bad at communicating, and we're getting, we're on text all the time, and it's getting to a point where having like a direct conversation is seen as being almost aggressive. And so then we're all very afraid to have the conversation. And then we know how that other person will take it, maybe because we have experience with them, watching with other students leaving and how they took that and whatever. And so now we're just like so freaked out about, having conversations. And really what it comes down to is we're not taking care of ourselves, because there are many situations where you just want to take a lesson from somebody else. You want to get a different perspective. I don't know about you, but 4 people could say try to express the same concept to me, and I might only get it from the 4th person, right? Because they phrase it a different way, or they have a new set of eyes, or they're just able to look at the problem from a different angle. And so I think that we do have to own the part of the first part of the communication. But before we even do that, we have to think about, again, intention, or even visualizing how you want this to go, and thinking about the other person instead of just thinking about yourself. How can I deliver this news that lets that person know, hey, I'm so grateful for your instruction. FYI, I want to get some other perspectives. Please know it doesn't mean I'm leaving you. It doesn't mean I'm unhappy. It doesn't mean any of those things. I just want to expose myself to more things. Now, some of you are going, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I could use that. And some of you are going oh, no way, that would never work. He is going to see right through this, and it's just going to be bad. And I would never, and I can't even tell them this, that, and the other. Okay, I get it. It's real. So then you have to decide though, at what cost to yourself are you kind of walking on eggshells around this person, and how can you get what you need, and also either break up completely with this instructor and still see them at trials, etc., or maybe you live in a geography where you don't have a ton of choices, and so you want to keep going to this person because you actually really like them, and maybe it is convenient, but you also want to have the opportunity to go do these other things, right? So it all comes down to the same thing, which is awareness of how they might feel, being compassionate, that they might feel concerned or worried or threatened or insecure, right? And no, it's not your job to buy them a subscription to Better Health and get them some therapy, but it is your job to, think about how they might feel and how you can talk to them in a way that everything would go as well as it can, right? I mean, I know instructors who get very jealous of other instructors, and they feel like their own way is the best way. And if you go to that person, they're going to mess you up, or, it's going to conflict with what I tell you, or whatever. And it's really coming out of an insecurity or a fear that they might not be as good, right? What if that person, your instructor, your favorite instructor, also feels like some imposter syndrome sometimes, or also, they want to get better too. So they feel like they're not as good as they could be, right? We're all struggling with something. And that's where I think realizing that, again, you don't have to solve that for them, but then I feel like it helps us approach it with compassion, right? It helps us look at it through the eyes of, okay, well, maybe I can do this in a way that lets them know, but also doesn't burn a bridge or something, or maybe I can, send them a cookie mailgram or something with it, thank you so much. I just, want you to know like how much I appreciate everything you've done for me, kind of thing. Maybe they just need to be appreciated, right? What's their love language, right? Is it affirmations? Is it acts of service? Is it gifts, right? Think about that and think about how you can work with, not against, the feelings that they might be having. All right. And then again, if you break up with your instructor, or if you are, quote, if they see you as, quote, cheating on them, right? How are you going to act at trials? And, kind of what is your plan to be a person who takes the high road, who deals in integrity? Do you feel defensive? Do you have to correct the storyline? Or are you okay with like, I understand that that's her story and I'm not going to correct it. Like I'm going to let her, or maybe not going to correct it, but I'm going to let her have her story. She's entitled to her version. Maybe that's a good thing to say, right? She's entitled to her version of the events. Okay. And so I would like to think that we can all do that and take the higher road and realize that sometimes someone else's reaction is not our problem. It might affect us, but it's not our problem to solve, or it's not our problem that we have to continuously walk on eggshells. That if we can trust that we are acting in integrity and we are doing the best we can with our communication, that's all we can do. And we have to trust that our reputation or the way others see us will hold up. And, for some people where, they want everybody to choose sides, they're a little bit of a bully, they're asking everybody to like, well, you got to believe me, right? You got to be friends. And sometimes they maintain those relationships because those people are afraid to do what you've done, which is to leave or to do something else that's good for you. Because at the end of the day, it's your dog, it's your entry fees, it's your travel, it's your life. There is an amount of boundaries and self-care that need to happen in order for you to have a healthy mindset, because otherwise this person is just, again, taking up energy and space in your brain. The term is rent-free, right? Without getting anything out of it yourself. And they're just taking up that space. Whereas you need to really free yourself from that and figure out how you can develop a relationship that goes beyond that and allows you to level up, because not all relationships are forever relationships, right? They might be for a season, instead of for a lifetime kind of a thing. So we have to know when we need other instruction, other coaches, other seminars, other online. I mean, there's so many more options now, especially for those people who are living in geographies that don't have, 5 choices. There are a lot of other choices that we can make online now. And so I think that we need to remember that we have to take care of ourselves, take care of our own mindset. Our mindset and our self-care are all intrinsically wrapped together as we go forward into our relationships in life. And the most that we can do is control our side. The phrase is keep your side of the street clean, know that you're acting with integrity. And over time, people will see that. It might be a long time, but people will see that, because there's always going to be bullies. There's always going to be people who try to poison the well, if you will, about you or say things, but you can't control that. And that's kind of the lonely part of it, right? That's the lonely part of dog sports, especially when those behaviors happen. Now, the other thing I want to say is trainers. I know I have a lot of instructors who listen. Thank you, by the way. And trainers, think about this. I want you to think about it. If someone comes to you and, quote, breaks up with you or wants to take instruction somewhere else, you have to really step back and think about, like, what does that mean? And does it have to mean anything? And do you have to have big feelings about it? Or can you just be like, Oh, cool. That's great. And maybe you go home and you worry or you feel like you have imposter syndrome or something else like that. And it does feel a certain way for you, but then that's yours to unpack. So try to be, open and compassionate. And maybe your student is making some colossal mistake, but that's okay. Let them make it. Let them go make it. You act with integrity. You be nice. You be kind. You be generous. When you see them at trials, talk to them. Ask them how it's going. Don't be that person that you wouldn't want to break up with, right? A long time ago, I said, and I stick to this phrase, is that you learn the most about a person when you break up with them. And when I said this, I actually meant it in a business context. It had to do with a hiring, firing kind of situation and how somebody acted as a result of that. And in that moment, when they are under stress or whatever, or, feel vulnerable or feel insecure or imposter syndrome or whatever those big feelings are going through their heads, then you see them act out in a way that they were able to keep under wraps, while they were an employee kind of a thing. And so that phrase that I just kind of fell off my tongue one day, again, was from a corporate sort of work context, but I think it applies to everything, right? I think you learn the most about someone when you break up with them. So for trainers, if you get broken up with, think about that. Who do you want to be in that moment? If someone should leave your instruction or just want to take other instruction, who do you want to be in that moment? Do you want to be the generous person who says, great, yeah, the more you can learn, the merrier, and just kind of keep your mouth shut about the opinions or whatever? Or maybe you help them. God forbid. You help them and you say, great, when you go over there, listen for, or, think about, or here's a tip that I've heard from other people, because the more helpful we are when someone leaves, the more likely they are to come back, right? So I know there's a lot of instructors about that. So it's not just about this conversation isn't about just being broken up with, or breaking up with somebody. It's about being the classy person when you are broken up with, or you perceive that is going on. All right. Don't take it personally. Maybe that person has to go on their journey too, or they want another perspective, or, that other instructor has their same breed or something like that. That's great. Just respect everybody's on their own journey to try to figure things out, and let's be classy. Let's be classy and with integrity and compassionate and graceful, and be the people we want ourselves to be, right? Be the best version of ourselves in those moments, which can be really, really hard. Okay. So I don't know. That's my advice for trying to break up with people. I have no homework for you. I always like to leave you with like, hey, this week, work on. So I hope you don't have to break up with someone this week. But if you do, think about how you want first, before you do anything, before you send a text, before you do anything. Think about how you want it to go and really visualize it going well. And think about what it would take for this new version of a relationship, instead of just like a complete ooh, this is going to go bad. Well, if you say it's going to go bad, it's probably going to go bad, right? Have we learned nothing about manifesting? Okay. So really visualize how you want it to go and see what you can do to work toward that type of an outcome. Okay. And I hope you don't have to do it. But if you do, there's some tips that I hope help you this week. All right. And whatever else you're doing this week, I hope you have a fantastic week with your dogs. Thanks so much for listening to the Mindset Coaching for Handlers podcast with me, Julie Bacon. I am so grateful for your precious time. Check out my Dogged Planner workbook and journal available on Amazon. Just search for Dogged Planner. I also offer monthly membership that's perfect for ongoing support of your awesome goals. Check out theqcoach.com for details, or just stop by and check out all the ways you can work on your mindset. And be sure to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at theqcoach and let me know how it's going. Finally, please share, subscribe, and leave a review. This helps us podcasters tremendously. Plus, I know I get my best podcast recommendations from friends. Thanks, and have a great week with your dogs.